Please remember to subscribe. It's just one click for you, but it helps me a lot creating new videos. Thank you. The Great Reset of 2021 and the demise of the petrodollar. Today's currency collapse is going unnoticed because of the cover that the pandemic is overshadowing all news. Once this second wave hysteria begins to subside, and the US election fiasco gets settled, watch the news media ignore the undeniable demise of the US dollar. The whole Klaus Schwab's The Great Reset parade is to provide the great and noble lie to the masses of people who are absolutely asleep with their eyes wide open. The Great Reset idea has been promoted by the US government and corporations for many years, since 1971, when Nixon made the decision to withdraw the dollar from the gold standard, causing the external debt to shoot up exponentially that will never be paid, over $27 trillion and counting. To that debt, you have to add the total domestic indebtedness. Debt, including mortgages, credit cards, business debt, etc., is $74 trillion. That is over 400% of GDP, and how much of that debt will turn out to be bad debt? The US doesn't collect enough revenues to pay the interest on the debt, so it keeps printing or borrowing money from China to pay the interest. It is a fact that the US can't pay its foreign debt of $23 trillion and that the US domestic debt is unpayable or bad debt. Now America has not one but two pandemics, economic debt time bombs. So it is not surprising that the World Economic Forum is actively promoting the Great Reset as an excuse to get rid of the US and corporate debt. The US and corporate debt keep growing exponentially, and at some point, it will be so large that merely rolling it over becomes a problem. The government will hit a debt wall and probably drag private debt down too. That will lead to a debt default, an economic reset. We need to remember that the World Economic Forum is Davos. And Klaus Schwab, a man who has been gifted with $1 million prize, is its sole founder and originator. No matter how popular the conference is, like the place to meet people who matter, it is run by a proprietary NGO out of Geneva, controlled by the same clique previously responsible for the League of Nations and currently controlling the majority of permanent UN bureaucracies. The Great Reset, however, is an ideological imposition. Best to read the very complete descriptions available on the World Economic Forum's site to appreciate the comprehensive power they want. Nothing short really of how the People's Republic of China is run. One party to rule us all. For sure, the Great Reset was in the planning for a long time before the pandemic emerged. The pandemic crisis is a convenient Trojan horse for a much larger list of actions to remodel global economies and global societies. Many of which have cozy, cuddly-sounding names but actually require massive changes to impose. This is a transitory period to the digital totalitarianism they have planned. Ban cash, contactless payment via CBDC, biometric tracking, microchip implants. They will force everyone to take it, otherwise they get nothing. Cut off from their digital financial system and put in jail if they don't obey. We know they just want us all to continue to be serfs forever, period. It will be interesting to see how this all plays out. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Please take a second to click the like button. As many of you have asked me about where they can buy silver and gold bullion. You will find in the description box the links where you can buy American Silver Eagle, silver bars, and rounds. I highly recommend that you too start stacking some silver bullion for the future. A private central bank issuing the public currency is a greater menace to the liberties of the people than a standing army. We must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt. Thomas Jefferson. Hyperinflation always starts with a massive increase in the money supply. The Fed more than doubled the US dollar supply, which may not affect general price levels for a long time. But, once it does, the currency system can collapse in a matter of weeks. Germany, Austria, and Hungary provide examples of this after World War I. Each saw civil society disintegrate as starving urbanites fled into the countryside to pillage farms. The winners, Pritchard recounts, were those who, by luck or design, had borrowed heavily from banks to buy hard assets. Gold is the only true money there is. Nothing can now stop the collapse of fiat currencies, and with its schemes to control humanity for the convenience and ambitions of government planners. There can only be one statist solution, and that is to mobilize gold reserves to back and save their currencies. In truth, nothing could ever stop the collapse of fiat currencies since the inception of the Federal Reserve System in America. To those with a half ounce of brains and historical acumen, the knowledge of this inevitability was undeniable. Our only concern now should be what ensues after this ineluctable event occurs. We must not allow the perpetrators to install yet another, and more virulent, form of usury upon humanity. Their past nefarious deeds must be drilled into as many heads as possible to thwart any world-dominating currency scheme from ever seeing the light of day. The foundation of money is in the vitality of the population attached to it, via taxation and loans based on income expectations. Digital is there to print with only a keyboard. Fiat printed must be backed if only by more debt, usually T-bills, but still backed. Digital currency is backed by nothing. Contrary to the usual hubris and arrogance of Western banksters and so-called economists, the future of money is being decided by those countries that actually have physical reserves and resources and the military power to control them. For Russia and China, reserves and resources does not mean the unpayable debt that so-called Western capitalists imagine wealth to be as they continue to impoverish their hostage nations with their anti-capitalist cant that has turned the so-called Western democracies into impoverished welfare ruins overrun by Soros migrant hordes to distract the masses from the real enemy among them. One gets it, or one doesn't, as the case may be, but the London-based bankers-centric world is already a thing of the past. That future does not include a global reserve currency-style Fedcon owned by the money changers and globally imposed as the Pentagon Kissinger Saudi-American IOU Petroscript toilet paper dollar was. Whatever's about being imposed on US and European, the debt slaves only too happy to exist in their cashless, electronic gulags, all watched over by machines of loving grace as they jab their electro thingies in lieu of using a brain to purchase their latte. The brain-dead millennials with their prosthetic blinking plastic gizmo brains never managed to grasp what in fact real money is. The simple answer is that actual physical money such as gold can't be purged and replaced with fiat or blips or BS, and try as the globo mob might, it won't get purged, and in the end when the electricity inevitably goes out, the surviving millennials will wake the hell up or go belly up when their survival apps no longer bring home the bacon. The OPEC oil embargo of the early 1970s was used as the excuse for a very large currency devaluation at a time when the US dollar could no longer be exchanged for gold. In the 1980s, a huge market downturn happened in the light of day, and many people suffered. Don't forget the S&L scandal, followed by Enron and other financial scandals. 2007 market crash had more drama with martial law threatened if the banks didn't get bailed out. Bear Stearns was allowed to be sacrificed. Is there no way? Is there no solution? We get it that there is no oil to support the growth and consumption and that the cabal has initiated and is executing the culling process. What can we do? Number 1, buy hard assets, gold, silver and farmland. Go back to the natural cycle. Number 2, move out of cities, farm, use sheep, cows that eat the grass, grow your own food. Use solar for heating, cooking, hot water, no battery, inverter, etc. needed. Not everybody can or will do that. If we can survive sustaining us, in great numbers, then we have a chance to overcome the horror ahead of us. We must spread the truth. We must wake up as many people. We must not accept their offer to enslave ourselves. They must taste their own medicine. Do unto others what you'd others do unto you. The US dollar is backed by the full faith and credit of the largest criminal enterprise on earth, so the collapse of the dollar is imminent for that reason and unsustainable debt. Prior to 1971, the dollar was backed by money, i.e. gold. Nixon closes the gold window in '71, and politicians were free to spend us into oblivion. The Fed will hyperinflate the currency to worthlessness. The bottom line is, as J.P. Morgan correctly stated, gold is money and nothing else, so the Fed can create their digital currency and cryptos can be around as well, but they aren't money. The free market, i.e. the black market, solves the problem of the state making gold ownership illegal. How are you going to keep the lights on after the currency speculators crash the US dollar and other world currencies? You think things are bad now, wait till the ATM doesn't work. Maybe get your head out of the clouds and go talk to real people that do real jobs and assume that the big business people and the stock market traders and the government types responsible for keeping the ball rolling can somehow manage to keep the rest of us in their thoughts. Buy precious metals. And if you can't afford gold, buy silver. Remember that the first metal used as a currency was silver, more than 4,000 years ago, when silver ingots were used in trade. During the heyday of the Athenian Empire, the city's silver tetradrachm was the first coin to achieve international standard status in Mediterranean trade. Silver was used as a standard in many countries, including the United States. Central bankers hate silver even more than they hate gold. Reset with gold is one thing. But you have to be able to defend that gold. Number 1, food self-sufficiency. Number 2, defense self-sufficiency.